Okay, I want to share some great news from this particular medical press release. So, this study shows that SARS-CoV-2, which causes COVID-19, is not transmitted by mosquitoes. So, I think they might have yes, they have the DOI over here. So, if you want, you can read this paper in Nature yourself, but I will not do that. I'll just go through the press release instead. So, I will leave a citation to this Nature paper down below. So, a new study by Kansas State University researchers is the first to confirm that SARS-CoV-2 cannot be transmitted by people or to people by mosquitoes. So, if y'all remember one of my first episodes that I have done, or I think it was the first episode that I did in this series, was that there were quite a few concerns as that SARS-CoV-2 would be able to transmit through mosquitoes due to some of the amino acid sequences that were found on the spike protein, and one of those would be the furin cleavage site, which is implicated in allowing viruses to have more variability into what cell types they can infect, and so that would also lead some ability for these what would you call them, these viruses to be able to grow and multiply while they are inside the mosquitoes salivary tissue. I don't know exactly what type of tissue it is, but that was a concern. And luckily, though, it appears as though this is not the case. So Stephen Higgs, who's a associate vice president for research at the and director for the university's Biosecurity Research Institute, or BRI, together with the colleagues from the BRI and the College of Veterinary Medicine, they had the findings published July 17th in Nature Scientific Reports. So this article, which I had just, this is the article which I had just shown you earlier. They detailed the study's findings, which provide the first experimental investigations on the capacity of SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19 disease, to infect and to be transmitted by mosquitoes. So frequently, if you want a mosquito to be able to transfer a disease, either it can be directly from them biting you and then biting someone else very, very shortly after, but that does not appear to be possible. The second way to do it is if the mosquito bites you, the mosquito has a cell type inside of them that is susceptible to the virus and allows the virus to multiply while in the salivary glands. Then when it bites someone else a few days later, after the viral load has increased significantly, when they inject you with their saliva, so that you basically, the injection of mosquito saliva is a somewhat of an anticoagulant. So after they inject that into you, if their salivary glands have enough of the virus in them, then theoretically you could contract whatever disease was inside of them. However, that's not the case. So while the World Health Organization has definitively stated that mosquitoes cannot transmit the virus, our study is the first to provide conclusive data supporting this theory. So this is one, one of the things that I complain about frequently, is that the World Health Organization is making claims and statements about what this virus does without providing evidence to say it, right? So they had been saying that it's not definitely not transmitted by mosquitoes without having proof that it's not transmitted by mosquitoes. And so if we were to follow, if we were to be intellectually honest with ourselves, we should say that the World Health Organization should have explicitly said there is no proof that it is transferring by mosquitoes, or with our current models, it appears as though mosquitoes are not playing a large role in the transfer of SARS-CoV-2. So they should have said that, but alas, they're doing what they're doing. Anyways, Higgs and Higgs, Pine, Professor of Biosecurity, and University Distinguished Professor of Diagnostic Medicine and Pathobiology. So the study, which was done at this BRI, or this, sorry, I keep on forgetting the acronyms, but it's the Biosecurity Research Institute, which is a biosecurity level 3 facility. They ultimately found the virus is unable to replicate in the 3 common and widely distributed species of mosquitoes: the Aedes aegypti, the Aedes albopictus, and the Culex. I apologize, I can't pronounce that. So there are a lot of different species of mosquitoes, and each of the species will have a little bit different cellular receptors that are on their cells, which could allow them to be susceptible or resilient to different viruses. And so when we do these mosquito studies, we have to test different species, especially the three or the biggest or the most populous species, because those are the ones that are very likely, well, they're new, they're, what would the word be? They're problematic because they like eating people or they like sucking our blood, and they are known historically to be vectors of a lot of these diseases. So I do know that the Aedes aegypti and the Aedes albopictus or pictus, I don't know how to pronounce it. Those are highly studied, and if you go to, say, protein databases, you can see a lot of the proteins from these particular species are studied frequently. The Culex quinquefasciatus, I haven't heard of this one before, and we can do a quick search. The southern house mosquito. This mosquito. Okay, gotcha. So these are the house mosquitoes that most of us. They look actually kind of terrifying. So yeah, just so you know, that's what it is. Anyways, since it cannot replicate in those mosquitoes as is, therefore it cannot be transmitted to humans. So this is phenomenal. So I am proud of the work that we are doing at Kansas State to learn as much as we can about this and other dangerous pathogens, said Higgs. And this work was possible because of the unique capabilities of the BRI and the dedicated BRI and institutional staff. So colleagues involved with the study include all of these people, and the research at this have completed 4 additional studies of COVID-19 since March, and this is the first peer-reviewed publication based on SARS-CoV-2 experiments wholly conducted at K-State. Interesting. So research at the and this is just some more PR for this BRI. So this is excellent, and hopefully it remains this way. So the problem with viruses is they like to mutate, right? Or they like to search for different avenues of transmission, or they like to search for different species that they can infect, because the more species that they can infect, the DNA inside of it will progress further into the future. So we might have, you might be familiar with how so many minks actually have to have been slaughtered in the Netherlands and in Spain, because minks used for fur coats are kept in very close quarters with each other, but frequently diseases that can infect humans very often will also infect members of the weasel family. So, or I should say, like ferrets. So ferrets and these minks very frequently will be susceptible to diseases that hurt us. So, so unfortunately, I think over 2 million mink have to have been euthanized because they all, or a lot of them, contracted SARS-CoV-2, and there were people that were actually able to contract SARS-CoV-2 from the mink as well. If I'm remembering this correctly, I haven't gone through all the details. So that would be problematic, because that gave the virus a lot of opportunity to grow, evolve, multiply within a completely different species, which then would theoretically allow it to learn new tips and tricks to, say, hurt us even more. So the same principle would go with mosquitoes as well. So we would like to, or we would hope that we don't give the opportunity to the virus to jump into mosquitoes, which is why we should stop it multiplying. As we really should suppress this thing as much as we can. And then also, if there are hotspots where there are a lot of mosquitoes, that would confer more and more opportunities for the mosquitoes to bite the infected people, and allow the virus to, if there was a mutated virus, that it could make that jump into mosquitoes. And once that happens, that would make it extremely difficult to control this thing. So hopefully we do not go down that path. So with that, thanks, and hopefully I will get more videos out, but yeah, this really put me into a good mood when I saw that yesterday. So y'all have a good one, and I'll see you later today.